Ladies and gentlemen, this is Darcy Gondaga, CEO at Real Media. And this video is kind of sad for me because I just watched an interview by one of my, most powerful inspiration when it comes to hip hop. I love hip hop. I was a DJ for more than 10 years internationally, and I was working at one time as a teenager at a radio station as a DJ. So I love radio. I love that life of entertainment, especially when it comes to hip hop. Because back then, when you're overseas and you don't really have access to information like now, it's before the internet was available to everybody like that. And we used to watch your MTV Rap. We used to air in Europe and we used to watch it in Gabon, in Ivory Coast, and in Paris. And we used to just marvel about the show. And I was just hearing the way it been fired from you know, 105.1, where there's a breakfast club now. The radio also a breakfast club was from iHeart Radio Inc. was owned by Mr. Lee and from Boston, Massachusetts, and on a private firm, with $10 billion of asset, and the owner is 75 years old. But nobody really know who Mr. Lee is. And that's why I realized that when it comes to business and when it comes to the black culture and to know what why it's so important for us to own the content, you have to own your content. I was blessed enough, my spouse and I, to publish about 85 online courses in French and English, and we own 100% of our content because it's about control. You cannot be a creative and don't own your content. Your content is more important than the money that you have because your content will produce money forever. I always give that stat and for people to really thinking about why it's so important to own your content. Is like I always give this example before I go back to Ed Lover's situation. That, for example, Albert Einstein would die in the 50s. Not too long ago, his his state produced $7 million from his notes or some piece of paper for some notes that where he was putting his content down and the value that it is today. I mean, MJ for the last 2 3 years, I believe that he generated $800 million because of his content. Bob Marley, the last time I checked, every year his estate generates at least $20 million. So it's so important for us to understand how to control our content. A lot of people ask me, Darcy, do people get paid, for views on YouTube? Not necessarily. You get paid to organize different deals, and there's a way and some metrics that you can put in place to see how you can sell one piece of content or what is the value of your 150 or 200 videos on YouTube. There's some metrics, there's some software that you need to know to be able to do that. So we have to increase our base knowledge to be able to control our creative power. Is very important. So I was listening to that Ed Lover been fired from 105.1, and that at one time was getting paid $800,000 a year. Now, for somebody who got a regular job, you're gonna say like, "Oh my God, $800,000 is a lot of money," but compared to the money that iHeartRadio was making, is nothing. It means that to me, somebody like Ed Lover, if it was up to me in a job like that, I should give him at least 2 mil, 2.5 mil, and more advantages, some stock options, because of who he represent for hip hop from the 80s to all the way up to now. You know, is that the knowledge, the relationship, the wisdom that he has, and it's like like a grandfather when it comes to the hip hop, not in age but in wisdom and what he was able to contribute to the community. But because the person who own that radio station or the corporation don't understand that, they look at him as an employee. I don't know if you remember when you watch, years ago when Dame Dash was on 105.1 and he was just slamming them like, Envy, you're not the boss. Charlemagne, you're not the boss. But to me, it was the most powerful interview in the history of a Breakfast Club because after that, and now they're good today, they're in good relation. But since then, Charlemagne, I have two New York Times best-selling books. Angela Yee, she got different businesses. Envy is doing real estate and his car show business on top of, still being a DJ out there and doing what he does. But it provoked them to create different revenue, or at least be more aggressive and being more vocal about it. That because like, hey, what you have, you don't own the show. The Breakfast Club, you don't own the show. You are there as employees. So anytime if they got if they were able to fire Ed Lover, they might fire you. So I want you to get the same example to come back to what you have to say, to your book, to your business, to build a business around it. Don't just have a book and just go drop it on a publisher and hope that they're gonna make you sell your book. My wife was just we just about to publish my book, my daughter book in French was already available in English. My wife got a book available in French and English. My own book coming out, next month. But we own the content because we know how to build a business around that book globally. I will tell you the story, I believe, in a few days now before the activation tour, how I helped a lot of powerful leaders in the French world who's now making an impact and traveling the world, having their own global conference and changing lives by thousands. I will show you certain footage so you can understand the amount of work my wife and I were able to do in 3 years overseas, to understand that what I'm teaching you is not just something I read on YouTube or on Google, but something I'm living. That system about globalize your content and monetize your content, I know exactly what I'm talking about. I've been doing it for years, and now I want to show you how you can do the same thing and impact the globe. Destroy that zip code mentality, impact the globe. There's a world out there who needs you, who needs your advice to go to the next level. But until you present yourself with a roadmap from A to Z, how to get somebody with a creative idea to profit and live on his own terms from his laptop and be able to travel the world, is a whole different story. Listen to what I said. I didn't promise that you're going to make 6 figures or 7 figures. I will say that whatever that you do as your job, this system will help to create the freedom to keep your job if you want to, but to get some profit from it and have that control aspect so you can leverage it to the way you want it, to when the right opportunity presents itself, you can make the best deal out of it. This is what it's about. It's not about just some fluff or just about like a fake promise that everybody gonna be rich. Everybody cannot be an entrepreneur, but everybody who got a creative content can control the content and do business a smart way. Somebody like Ed Lover, somebody like Charlemagne or Angela Yee, whatever they get paid right now with their audience, if they knew what I knew, they can position themselves and get paid twice or 3 times what they're getting paid now on their own. If they know how to position themselves, how to monetize the podcast, not on view only, but different avenues where you can position yourself and get some deals that you customize and you control your show. You control the name, you control the content, and nobody can dictate you nothing, and you're still getting paid for that content that you own globally. That's the key, globally. So this is Darcy Okonaga, CEO at Real Media. Make sure that if you live in Atlanta, you come to join us at the Activation Tour, August 17 in Atlanta, Georgia. Get your ticket now. Place us very, very, very limited, and act now to really make sure that you can go to the next level and understand how to position this thing to about this content-based business, this info product-based business to go to another level. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.